I, 45 meters, am married to my wife, 47F. We both have teen sons from previous relationships, her son Noah, 14, and my son Spencer, 15. Spencer's biological mom, my ex, is a deadbeat who doesn't pay her child support and hasn't spoken to Spencer in years, while Noah's biological dad is very involved in Noah's life and takes him every other week. Noah's dad also makes a fair bit more money than either me or my wife, and this leads to Noah having nicer things than Spencer. For example, Noah has a fairly new iPhone, while Spencer has an old model with a cracked screen. Noah's dad has promised to pay his way through college, while Spencer works 2 part-time jobs, by his choice, to start saving up but will still probably have to take out loans. Most relevant to our current problem is that Spencer wears almost exclusively second-hand/thrift clothes while Noah's dad buys him department store/name brand clothes. Because of the difference in the way the two boys dress, Noah has taken to making fun of Spencer for looking like a hobo, like he crawled out of a gutter, and like trailer trash. These are just nasty, unnecessary, and, in my opinion, very classist insults. It's not like Spencer doesn't put effort into his appearance either. We just don't have the money to fill his closet with $30 t-shirts and $75 pairs of jeans. Now, Spencer has a bit of a temper, and the difference between his things and Noah's things is a sore spot. As a result, the boys have gotten into several shouting matches and one major physical altercation. Spencer is tall for his age, and Noah hit puberty late, so it was more of a beatdown than a fight, though no one went to the hospital. I've spoken to my wife multiple times about disciplining Noah, but she insists that he's just doing it to get a reaction out of Spencer, and the solution is for Spencer to stop falling for it rather than any consequences or even a strong conversation for Noah. I may have accepted this if Noah was in elementary school, but he's a teenager, and a teenager needs to be at least told not to antagonize his stepbrother, who he knows has outbursts. I've tried to talk to Noah myself, but he just says, "You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do." And yes, I have talked to Spencer about keeping his temper in check, but at this point, it's not his fault when he's constantly being demeaned for something he has no control over. So, after the aforementioned physical incident, I gave my wife an ultimatum: discipline Noah, or I'm leaving. I told her that I couldn't keep my son in a home where he's constantly on edge because she refuses to parent her son. I told her that, as a step-parent, I have little authority over Noah, so it's on her to set him straight. She asked me if I was seriously considering divorcing her over the way she parents her son, and I said yes, that this isn't about her, but about protecting my son from Noah's bullying. She told me I was being manipulative and that threatening divorce over every little thing is abusive. I tried to explain that this wasn't a little thing, and she just told me to give her a few days to think things over. I agreed to give her a week before I would contact a lawyer. Ada? More info. As I said, I've tried to talk to Noah, but he's like a brick wall. He won't listen to anyone except his mom and dad. I tried to take his phone once, for an unrelated reason, and his mom and dad blew up on me for stealing, and my wife basically told me that I have no right to do anything to him because he's not biologically mine. I don't feel like I have the right to mess with their custody arrangement and tell her that Noah is welcome only on weekends or something like that, and I felt like taking the nuclear option, divorce, would get her attention and take the issue seriously. Honestly, this was a test, and depending on how she took, or didn't take, action from my threat, I would weigh our relationship. I admit that my relationship with my wife needs work, but my son is my priority, and I'm not willing to keep him in a house with a bully while my wife and I work on things. Also, when Spencer beat Noah after he had enough, my wife didn't want to involve the cops because no one got hurt bad enough to require a doctor's visit and because she considered it a scuffle between brothers. I've told my son that he needs to control his anger, and I don't tell him he's a victim. I don't condone violence from my son, but at this point, my son was at his breaking point, so I don't blame him the least. Also, Noah threw the first punch, so yes, I am proud of my son for standing up for himself. Finally, some people here are acting like wearing thrifted clothes is some kind of child abuse, but really, the only difference between my son's clothes and my stepson's clothes is the brand name and where they were purchased. I wear thrift clothes, and so does my wife. It wasn't an issue until Noah decided it made him superior. Update 1. First off, as per everyone's advice in my last post, I've gotten in contact with a divorce lawyer and have begun to draft papers. Whether or not they'll be filed remains to be seen. Second, I didn't think I'd be updating so soon, but there's been a major development. Yesterday, Noah's father, who I'll be calling Mike, called me. We have each other's numbers, but we generally don't speak, so this was a surprise. I picked up, greeted him and asked what was up. He told me he was calling because of the fight our boys got into and asked me if knew anything about it. So I told him that I did know about it and that, thankfully neither boy was hurt badly. Then he tells me, "Good, that's good to hear. Listen, from the way Noah tells the story, your boy, Spencer was it? Attacked mine over some petty argument over clothes. Now I know my boy can exaggerate, so I figured I'd call to get it from you." So, I tell him what I know and say, "Yeah well, now I don't mean to call Noah any kind of liar, but that's only half the story. See, lately, your boy has taken to picking on mine because you can afford to dress him in more expensive clothes. Now, I'm glad that Noah can have the clothes he wants thanks to you, but he's decided that makes him superior to Spencer. Noah called him a hobo, trailer trash, told him he looked like he crawled out of a gutter, and said he wouldn't be surprised if Spencer ended up on the street in 5 years. Mike was surprised that his son would say things like that and assured me that that is not the type of thing he teaches him in his house. Then he asked me to tell him more, so I continued with, right, now my boy can have a temper, and I'm working on that with him, be sure, but Noah wouldn't listen when I told him to knock it off. There have been a few yelling fights, and then a couple of days ago, Noah just kept winding him up, and they were shouting at each other, and then Noah swung, and well, the rest is history. Now, Mike was really surprised that Noah was the first to use his hands. I confirmed that was the case, but also clarified that it wasn't a fair fight at all because Noah didn't get another chance, and Spencer did the rest. I told Mike that I was glad neither got hurt too bad, and then I told him, let me be frank. Your boy is causing problems in my house, and he needs to stop before he gets put in the hospital. Could you talk to him about it? Sherry, my wife, won't address this, but our relationship is a whole other deal. And then Mike said, oh yeah, for sure, I'll talk to him. And also, so long as no one goes to the hospital, feel free to let your boy set mine straight, if you know what I mean. That's how I learned to stop being a mouthy little shit. Maybe a little schoolyard justice will do the same for him. I was really appreciative of Mike's approach and told him that I'd pass his message to Spencer, but that I'd honestly prefer less violence in my house. He said he agreed, that he was disappointed in Noah and apologized for his behavior with Spencer. Then we hung up. Anyway, Noah goes to Mike's place tomorrow, so hopefully his father can straighten him out. As for my relationship with my wife, I'll be having a serious sit down with her soon. If we can't work things out, that lawyer of mine will come in handy. And yes, I did tell Spencer what Mike said about setting Noah straight, but I made it clear that Spencer is not to start anything, but if Noah gets physical first, Spencer has my permission to shut him down. Update 2. So, some of you suggested that Sherry and I have a family meeting with Mike and the boys, and I figured it was worth a try. I called Mike, and he said it was a great idea, but Sherry didn't want to because her divorce from Mike was so chaotic, and she didn't want to make things awkward. It took some convincing, but she caved eventually. I won't go into the little details, but basically, Mike and I tried to explain to Noah and Sherry why what Noah had been doing was wrong and deserved punishment, but Sherry was being really stubborn and ended up with Mike deciding to take all of Noah's clothes away and give him $100 to make his wardrobe for all of the coming school year, with it reduced down by $15 for each time he insulted Spencer, a moot point now, but he didn't know that at the time. Sherry was, of course, opposed, but there was not much she could do. Mike took Noah and left, Spencer got picked up by my mom, and then I got into it with Sherry. It started out civil, talking about parenting philosophy and our different experiences with bullying and the like. She just wouldn't calm down, though, and we had the biggest fight of our relationship. I admit, I was a bit at fault, too, for not backing down. What can I say? I'm one stubborn ass. It was an hours-long screaming match that was basically her defending Noah and saying he has a right to his words because he's smaller, younger, and because he had to go through his parents' messy divorce and he has emotional trauma. I don't actually know if this is true, but to be frank, I don't care. I yelled back that Spencer's mom is a fucking deadbeat, so fuck you and your excuses. In the end, it devolved into petty insults and ended with her throwing a lamp at me while screaming that she'd rather bang her coworker, and I ran out of the house and drove to my mom's place. Anyway, a couple of days later, this somehow all got back to Mike, who invited me out for a drink, and I obviously said yes because I really needed one at that point. We got to talking about Sherry, and it turns out you all were right about their divorce, too. According to Mike, he left her because they got into a huge fight after he caught her poking holes in their condoms. She wanted another kid, but he didn't, and she was trying to get her way with an oops baby. They didn't even have a prenup, she just managed to blow through all the money she had gotten from him before I met her. So yeah, suffice it to say I'm glad I got myself snipped a while ago. Anyway, I filed the divorce papers, and I'm fucking devastated, but I know it's for the best. Fuck my life, and thanks for listening to my ranting internet strangers. Also, I'd be happy just to be drinking buddies with Mike, he's really cool. And considering the shit I'm about to get into, I'm going to need someone to drown my feelings with. 2 weeks ago, I would never have imagined it would come to this, but leaving her feels like a weight off my shoulders. Honestly, like I said, I'm just glad we don't have any kids together. This will be my last update, I'm going to focus on screwing her over as badly as I can. Seriously, fuck you, Sherry. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Best friend, 22 meters, wants me, 20 meters, to step aside so he can date my unofficial girlfriend, 18F. A little over 3 years ago, I had just gotten out of a relationship with a girl who was really abusive. I broke up with her shortly before I graduated high school and wanted to take some time to focus on myself. Of course, a few weeks after the breakup, I met the most gorgeous girl I've ever met, and we really hit it off. I'll refer to her as Lila. She had also gotten out of an abusive relationship, so neither of us was looking for anything serious. At the time, my driver's license was suspended, too much speeding, bad time in my life, learned my lesson, and my friend, I'll call him K, offered to drive me to see her. For a few months, we would mostly just hang out together because we all got along really well, and she and I would mostly just cuddle up if we were all watching a movie. Sometimes, we would sneak off for a few minutes to make out a little, but not long because we didn't want to be rude to K. Lila and K developed their own friendship during this time, but it was obviously platonic on both ends, like an older brother/younger sister dynamic. K also had a girlfriend of 4 years then, but they were hanging by a thread. After 6 months, I got my license back, and I'd see Lila/take her out without K. At that point, Lila and I started sleeping together. We both really liked each other, but I panicked and sort of ghosted her for a few weeks. Lila and K continued talking, and he said he wasn't going to stop being friends with her because I was being an idiot. Fair enough. I realized I was being stupid, and Lila agreed to see me again. We immediately picked right back up where we left off. Around this time, K and his girlfriend broke up, so I moved in with him. I would see Lila a few times a week, and she would come to our place on the weekends, and we would all hang out. That continued for several more months until she ghosted me for about 2 weeks. She told K she was afraid I would bail again, and she didn't want to go through the pain again. We worked it out, but embarrassingly, this cycle has since been repeated once or twice. Not in over a year, though. Over the last year especially, I've noticed K has acted differently around Lila. He'll flirt with her in front of me. She's very friendly with him, but does not flirt back and pulls away when he touches her. I told him I didn't like it, but he said it doesn't matter if he flirts with her, she loves me. She says she doesn't feel that way about K at all, and everything indicates that's the truth. K has also started drinking more lately, and the other night, Lila was not here, he started whining about life not being fair. I took the bait and asked what was wrong, and he started rambling about how Lila was too good for me, and I didn't deserve her. I agree, but it still pissed me off. He then told me he was in love with her and had been for a while, and if I cared for either of them at all, I'd step aside so he could pursue her. I didn't want to argue with him while he was drunk, so I went to bed. I confronted him in the morning, and he doubled down. He said that I couldn't commit, I couldn't give her what she wanted/needed, she wasn't my girlfriend, and she was fair game to try to date. Am I wrong for thinking this is messed up? Lila and I do have an unconventional relationship, I'll admit. We don't refer to each other as boyfriend/girlfriend, but we don't sleep with other people, we tell each other we love each other, she usually stays at my place, and we have a good relationship with each other's families. I think we're pretty happy together. I know she doesn't want to be with him, so I'm not worried about that, but since Kay said those things, I can't help but question if I'm being unfair to Lila by holding her back with me. More info: when we started sleeping together, we did have a conversation and agreed we didn't want to sleep with or date other people, but we also didn't want to put a label on our relationship. We do discuss it occasionally and have always been on the same page, but we have gotten a lot more serious in the last year. The more I type it out, the dumber it seems not to make things more official, though. Kay is obviously free to try his luck, but she has said she's not interested. If anything, he'll just mess up his friendship with her. I honestly never saw it as dragging her along. We both did bail in the past, but we've also each been seeing therapists, separately, for over a year now to work out our commitment issues, and we haven't repeated that cycle since. So, I'm not going to bail again. I am completely in love with her, and she's honestly the only person I can see myself ever being with. She feels the same way, but how do you really ask out a girl you've already been exclusively dating for 3 years? This morning, I did talk to him again and told him what she had said to me, with her permission, which was essentially that his advances have been making her uncomfortable, and if he wants to maintain any friendship with us, then he's got to roll things back to how they used to be. He said he wouldn't believe it until he heard her say it herself, without me around. I'm conflicted about that because I don't want to come across as controlling, but I also worry about his reaction when she rejects him. She said she was going to try calling him before agreeing to see him. My guess? He'll claim I'm with her, he'd be right, so he won't accept it. He's trying to manipulate her. He knows it's heartbreaking for her to disappoint anyone, and I think he's trying to play off that. I feel bad for him because he's obviously going through some shit, but Kay has seen my relationship with Lila from the beginning. Everyone who knows us knows the deal. Update 1. I wanted to thank everyone who took the time to respond to my post and update anyone who might be interested in the outcome. I have been staying with Lila for about a week now, since the initial confrontation with Kay, and thanks to people here, I was sure I wanted to ask her if she wanted to make things more official. She ended up making things even easier for me, as luck would have it. Lila asked me if it might make things easier if I just told Kay that she was my girlfriend. I jumped on that opportunity and asked if I could tell everyone she was my girlfriend, and she said yes. She and I are going to look at a few apartments this week since I obviously need a new living situation, and we want to move in together. Kay and I had a few brief discussions after he told me he wanted to be with Lila. I had told her everything Kay had said to me, and she was not the least bit interested in him, which I had assumed. I also told him that she is officially my girlfriend now, which should satisfy his concerns about my not committing to her. However, he refused to believe any of it without confirmation from her, in person, without me around. She initially agreed to meet with him on Sunday, with the plan that they would meet at her house, since she lives with her mom and stepdad, but he rejected that, saying he wanted to meet at the apartment, without me there. She told him she wasn't comfortable with that. If he wanted to meet up without her parents or me there, they at least had to be somewhere public. I understood him not wanting me in the room or getting his heart broken in the middle of a Starbucks or something, but him rejecting her parents' house when they'd always been friendly with him was a big red flag for us. I don't even think I'm going back to the apartment to get the rest of my stuff. He got pissed that his threatening behavior made her feel threatened and went on a tirade, calling her every name in the book. She told him she wasn't going to see him again at all and blocked his number. He has reached out to me a few times, ranging from sad to aggressive, and I'm a text or two away from blocking him as well. Hopefully, he'll just move on, and it won't come to that. I hope he's able to get his life together, but I can't help him at this point. If he does try to contact her again, then she's going to try to get a restraining order. I've also told our mutual friends what is happening and that he can't know where our new apartment will be under any circumstances. Edit, to clarify, we both wish him well, but neither of us wants to continue a friendship with him under any circumstances. Since posting this, I have also blocked him. I agree with posters that there is no point in keeping any lines of communication open anymore. I have also reached out to some friends to help get the rest of my stuff out, but I was already able to get everything important when I first left. He can make a shrine out of my old shirts if he really wants. Again, thank you to the posters who helped me navigate this situation. Update 2. Okay, so my stuff is out, thanks to 2 of my friends, who are also friends of Kay. Friend had tried ahead of time to convince Kay to leave so we could get everything out without him, but it wasn't happening. Kay said he wanted to make sure I didn't mess with his stuff, which is ironic, since he tried messing with my relationship. Friend then offered to act as a buffer so Friend B and I could get my stuff out. When we first got to the apartment, Kay was obviously drunk but calm and seemed almost apologetic. I had already decided I wasn't going to engage with him at all because I didn't see the point anymore. He did not like being ignored, apparently, and started going off, gradually saying worse and worse shit. He started saying shit about Lila, but I was able to ignore him and let it roll off my back until he told me I might need to fuck her up and get her in line. He knows her ex before me was abusive. I'm very thankful my friends were able to get me out of there quickly because I have never been so angry like that in my life. It's crazy. He's been texting other mutual friends to find out where we signed our lease. They had to block him, too. I do not want any further contact with him and have told him that. I do hope he can get his shit together, but I'm done with him either way.